5 guests. Now your message.
So I'm going to talk to y'all today about how to lease an apartment as a leasing consultant. So, have y'all ever rented an apartment?
Yes.
Did you go to the office?
Yes.
Did you like the service you received?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you a little background about myself. So I've been a leasing consultant for 2 years now at the Oaks of Redland apartment off of 1604 and 281. My duties as a leasing consultant to make the lease process go as smoothly as possible is to follow back with leads on lead to lease, answer the phone, or introduce myself when I have new potential residents come in. So this afternoon I'm going to share my knowledge with you on how to lease an apartment as a leasing consultant, the whole process. So for potential renters, patience and time management is very critical in this process. It involves a lot of timely things, as in going to the grocery store or the gas station to get check stubs, or to bring your your money order, or to bring your check stubs in so we have proof of income. So the 3 main points today I'm going to discuss with you are how to show someone an apartment, how to apply somebody on an application, and how to do the lease file. So I'm going to start off with how to show someone an apartment. So usually guests will call in on the phone asking if we have any apartments available, or when they're looking to move, our prices, or they'll walk into the office. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to answer their questions that they have. You'll definitely use the availability sheet that we have, but it'll tell you all the floor plans, the units, and when they're going to be available, so you can make the best applicable unit for their time of moving. Usually when the guests come into the office, you'll get up, introduce yourself, tell them what they're looking for, explain the price sheet, the floor plan, the square footage, and all the fees, like the application fee, which is $65. The deposit starts at $150, it can go up to $250, and then the admin fee, which is a standard $80 fee. When they come in and they're interested in seeing a unit, you'll always fill out a guest card. You'll get all their information, when they're looking to move, how many occupants in the unit, if they have any pets, and just fill this out. Make sure you get the phone number, address, and an email. Okay, so after you do that, you always make sure you have a valid ID, which is anyone over the age of 18 to show a unit. And you hold on to the IDs. You ask, usually they'll show the model, but if you happen to have an available unit that's already ready, you can show them that unit as well. So you make sure you get your keys, take your cell phone always with you, and you always make sure that your office staff or somebody knows you're going off property to show the unit. Once you get back from showing the unit, answering any questions that they have to make sure they're as comfortable as possible, you'll ask them if they're ready if they want to lease an apartment or if they're interested in taking an application. Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. And you always remind them that they can also do the application on our website, which sometimes is an easier process for most people. So this right here is going to be the application. It will explain all the fees on here, the application fee, the admin fee. You always put your name so you get credit for that lease. And also all these will be breakups of the payment if they do get it approved, and if they do decide to finish up the lease with you, you'll add up all the little prices. It does have the standard application, which is pretty much standard at any apartment complex. And then it also has a couple addendums. This one's going to be signatures, a privacy policy for personal information, which they have to sign, and then a rental criteria, which lets them know that what we require as far as they have to have 4 check stubs or 4 current bank statements, as well as make 3 times the rent here at this property. Every property is going to be different. And you make sure everyone who's going to be signing is doing their own application. And once you have that, you have them bring back a money order, which is going to be 2 separate money orders, usually one for the application fee and one for the admin. They'll bring it back to the office, make sure they fill it out for that unit they're going to be leasing. You hand that to your assistant manager. And then once you have that, you also make sure you have the 4 check stubs or bank statements. Once you have all that, you can start screening them in your system. Once you screen them in your system, it'll come up with a approve or deny. And then once you have all that stuff together, you will hand all that to your manager and let her make the final decision if they're going to approve that potential resident or deny them. Usually once you approve or deny, you'll call them and let them know they were approved, or you tell them that they were denied. If they are approved, you'll let them know that they were approved and that you're going to start getting their application or their file ready for them, and you'll call them back as soon as possible and let them know how much they will owe at move-in. And when you do that, you're also going to let them know that they are required to have CPS in their name a day before they move in, as well as renter's insurance, which at our property we require a minimum of $100,000 liability. So then once you're done with that, you're also going to start their move-in file, which is going to, all this stuff will actually go in that application file. And then as well as this move-in checklist, but just make sure you have all the stuff that goes on certain tabs, and as well as the lease contracts. So this has just an addendum, which is just security guidelines for our property, just to make sure you know to lock your apartment and lock your keys. Rent's due on the third, or on the second, first, and on the third it's late. Little fees and little things like that they should be aware of, as well as the communication log. If anything were to happen, we always document it. That way we know if it is a recurring incident that we have like stuff to go back and look at. And then as well as the vehicle information. So if someone calls and says someone's parked in my covered parking or whatever, you always go back and check before you tow a vehicle that it's not a resident's vehicle. So this that I've talked to you today is actually going to be how to lease an apartment as a leasing consultant. So in conclusion, the leasing process is it's a timely process, and it requires a lot of patience and time management from both the management team as well as the new resident, so we can get them into their unit as soon as possible and have the most comfortable and best customer service that they could have. So this afternoon I explained how to lease an apartment as a leasing consultant. It's a learning process. Even once you've done it for 2 years versus 5 years, it really doesn't make a difference. You learn as you go. Things change, things pop up. You just make sure that you know exactly how to answer a question and be careful with fair housing. So if you ever have questions, just always ask your manager. So this is how to lease an apartment.